Hello everyone. Welcome to Read, Review, Repeat. I'm Debanjana. I read books, tell you exactly what I think about them, and then go back and do it all over again. This channel is a 100% hype free zone. I'm not paid for these reviews. I buy these books with my own money, and my opinions are entirely my own. And one more thing, a huge warning. This is a full spoiler review. I'm going to talk about the plot, the characters, the twists, all of it. Okay, are we ready? Let's go. Today I'm reviewing The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, a domestic thriller that I almost did not finish initially, but it had me absolutely hooked by the end. Gripping, yet frustrating at times. Let's get into the plot. The story opens with Libby, who, on her 25th birthday, inherits a large, crumbling Victorian townhouse in Chelsea, a house she never knew existed, left to her by parents she never knew. The catch? That house was the scene of something deeply sinister. Years ago, three adults were found dead inside, and a 10-month-old baby was discovered alive in a room upstairs. That baby was Libby. The novel unfolds across three perspectives and two timelines. In the past, we follow Henry, who grew up in that house, and narrates in chilling detail how his family's home was gradually taken over by a charismatic, manipulative man named David Thompson, a man who arrived as a guest and never left, slowly dismantling every boundary, every relationship until the family was barely recognizable. In the present, we follow Libby as she tries to unravel what exactly happened in that house. And then there's Lucy, a woman living rough across Europe with her two children and dog, scraping by on playing music and odd jobs. At first, there is no connection between them, but as the three threads tighten, it becomes clear that Libby, Lucy, and Henry are far more connected than initially let on. And the truth about what happened in that house is darker, stranger, and more heartbreaking than Libby ever imagined. Okay, let's start with what I loved. First, the twist. The premise of this book is built on the fact that Libby is Henry and Martina's daughter. Her birth name is Serenity Lamb. It's an established fact, a given. But then to find out that she is actually Lucy and Finn's daughter, that reveal knocked me sideways. And what makes it work is that the misdirects leading up to it, like the newspaper article by Miller that discussed Serenity, the suicide note by the Lambs that named Serenity as their child, and then there's Martina's pregnancy late in the book. These are all really, really well done. I fell for every single one. Joel is masterful at giving you just enough to feel confident in a theory and then pulling the rug out cleanly and completely. The second thing I loved was the structural integrity of this book. I was actively looking for plot holes. Because with a mystery this layered, with timelines and POVs weaving in and out, there's so much room for things not adding up. But they all added up. At least I couldn't find any plot holes. That kind of careful, airtight plotting is genuinely hard to pull off, and Jewel does it. And then there was the core premise, the psychology of how a household can be insidiously taken over. That's what makes this more than just a thriller. The horror isn't a murder weapon or a monster, it's how slowly it happens, how each small surrender makes the next one easier. That's the part that lingers. Now, coming to the parts that didn't work as well for me. First, the pace. This story could comfortably have been told in 300 pages. At 450, it drags. The first half was especially slow. I was 10 chapters in, and the only interesting thing that had happened was that Libby had inherited a house with sinister background. I genuinely considered giving up and moving on to another book. But it came highly recommended, so I pushed on. And honestly, the perseverance did pay off in the end. Second, the long winded, detailed descriptions. I found them quite tedious, and it's partly what contributed to the 450 pages. Here, take this example. Libby inherits a neglected, boarded up Victorian townhouse. I'm told that. I know that. I can imagine what that must look like. If this long, descriptive passage was just cut to this, they stepped into the hallway. The heat of the outdoors, the hum of traffic, the echo of the river all fades away. It's cool in here. Libby shudders. There's too much wood, not enough light, not enough air. She feels like she's in a coffin. I'd still have sensed the same atmosphere. If you enjoy this kind of immersive, descriptive writing where the banisters of staircases are described in vivid detail, you will love this book. I personally prefer a faster pace, so it slowed me down more than it drew me in. Third, and my biggest question throughout the Henry sections, is why the adults outside complied with this slow, insidious takeover. Okay, Justin was an outsider. He left. Got it. Birdie was a true believer of David's ways. Martina was clearly brainwashed. But what about Henry Sr.? Before his second stroke, he was still relatively okay. Why didn't he call the police and report squatters? Why didn't he just throw David out while he still had the capacity? It was his house, after all. The idea that his wife's brainwashed happiness was enough to override his own children's well being, well, I didn't buy that. And then there's Sally Thompson, David's ex wife. She was there at the start in that house. She knew exactly what David was, knew apparently that he had done this to another family before. She was cheated on. She left. And then did absolutely nothing to protect her own kids. Even when she could see that they were malnourished and being abused and isolated in that house. No call to child services, no alarms raised, nothing. And where was the extended family? Grandparents, aunts, uncles. Henry even mentions his mother's brother at one point. Nobody checked in. For years, nobody called the police. The psychological entrapment happening inside the house to the kids is fascinating and deeply unsettling to witness. But the silence of everyone on the outside is never convincingly explained. The final verdict. The Family Upstairs is a gripping, well constructed thriller with a truly satisfying reveal and ending. The misdirects are clever, and the central psychology is deeply unsettling in the best way. My reservations are real though. The pace is slow, and the detailed descriptions drag. And the silence of every adult outside the cult is a logic gap that Jewel never quite plugs. For me, those three things together bring it down from 5 to 4 stars. Have you read the book? Did you see the twist coming? Let me know in the comments. And if this kind of review is your thing, no fluff, no spoiler free vagueness, just a real conversation about books, then please like and subscribe because I'll be back soon with the next one. Until then, stay calm and keep reading.